Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Payo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. And How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a six-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Hello, and welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Payo. Of course, I'm your host, Nate Payo. Today I'm joined with Nathan Hirsch. He is an entrepreneur and an expert in remote hiring as well as e-commerce. Most recently, Nathan co-founded freeup.com in 2015 with an initial $5,000 investment and scaled it to $25 million per year in revenue. He was then acquired in 2019. Today, Nathan is a co-founder of OutsourceSchool, a company working to educate entrepreneurs on how to effectively hire and scale with virtual assistants through in-depth courses. Nathan has appeared on 300 plus podcasts, is a social media personality, and he loves sharing advice on scaling remote businesses. Welcome to the show, Nathan. How are you?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It should be a lot of fun.
It should be, and we have good first names, so we're in that good space already. So you've done stuff I think a lot of people always, try to strive to do, which is become an entrepreneur, become a founder, create a business, and have an exit. What led you to this idea of starting entrepreneurship, starting a business that focused on FreeUp, which is a website that helps you connect to virtual assistants, correct? So
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about this journey of why you even chose to start it and how building a business, impacted your life?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, my parents were both teachers. So I always grew up the mentality that I should go to school, get good grades, get a job, or go to college, get a job, work for 30 years, retire. And my parents always made me get these summer jobs, winter jobs. I was working 40, 50 hours a week. I had all these different experiences and opportunities and learned a lot about business and marketing and sales. But I also learned how much I hated having a boss. So by the time I got to college, I kind of looked at it in this perspective. I was like, hey, I'll get a degree. I'll have that in my back pocket. I'm paying for college. I'll get good grades, but I'm going to try to start a business while I'm here. And I'm going to look at college as a 4-year ticking clock that I'm going to try to have a business by the time I graduate. And so I started hustling and buying and selling people's textbooks, competing with my school bookstore, offering more money than the bookstore. And that went really well. Before I knew it, I had lines out the door of people trying to sell me their books, to the point where I got a cease and desist letter from my college telling me to knock it off. So that was my first glimpse into being an entrepreneur. And I had sold these books on Amazon. This was 2008, 2009. And I just thought it was so cool. I could have this 24/7 Amazon storefront. And so I started experimenting and tried tons and tons of different products before finally coming across baby products and getting really good at selling baby products on Amazon. And when I say really good, imagine me as a college guy, single college guy with more hair, selling millions of dollars of baby products out of my college dorm room. It was a really wild time. And I had to start hiring. I was getting stressed out. I was doing all this work myself. So I turned to college kids, and they quickly proved to be unreliable, smoking, drinking on the job, oversleeping for shifts. And a buddy of mine told me about the remote hiring space, virtual assistants, Upwork, Fiverr, I think it was Odesk at the time. And I hired my first VA and then my second VA and my third VA. And I learned a lot, and I started building up good systems, good processes to have better experiences, interviewing, onboarding, training, and managing, a lot of what we teach at OutsourceSchool now. But I didn't like those platforms. It just took forever to post a job, get 100 applicants, interview them one by one. So I decided to build my own marketplace, and I took a $5,000 investment and created this minimum viable product and took it to market. And our whole concept was we would pre-vet all VAs and freelancers before they got on the platform. Clients would create a free account, submit a request, we'd match them up quickly. On the back end, we'd have great support, great protection, and a no turnover guarantee. If someone quit, we'd cover replacement costs. And in my mind, this was what the marketplace that I would want to use as a customer: the pre-vetting, the speed, the customer service, the protection. And that's really how the idea for FreeUp came about.
Yeah, I remember about the time you were saying you were creating these Amazon stores. That was about the time I probably read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. And that was kind of like this revolutionary idea of you could use VAs to help you with a lot of stuff. And he recommended, I think it was going to Elance, which is Upwork now, right? And I remember going on there a few times, and I've used them in the past. I've had good experience and bad experience, but a lot of the times you post a job and you get hundreds of applicants, and you're like, oh, who's good? And the pricing ranges from like a nickel to like $100, and you're like, it's so all over the spectrum. It's like, how do you know who's any good? And then the reviews are so. And a lot of times I would pay somebody to do something, and then I would get kind of like frustrated because it really didn't turn out that great. And then like you tried to get the corrections made, and you're just like, yeah, this is frustrating. Then I ended up doing it myself. And so I totally see how it could be hard to manage that process. And hiring people is difficult in general, right? Whether you're hiring somebody virtually or in person, I guess a lot of times we expect them to know what to do, what to accomplish, and what our expectations are without really giving them a chance. And to add a remote factor onto that, or they're a lot of times working different time zones, now you're just completely not interacting with them on a regular basis. So it's hard to really set expectations and really train somebody to do what you want. So I think what you were up to definitely filled a need, probably still fills a need for sure. And there's a ton of learning to do when you bring new employees on, especially if you've never done it before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a great relationship with the new owners at FreeUp. I still hire from FreeUp. So again, I built a platform for what I wanted, but I'm in the mentality that you can go to FreeUp and get a really great VA, but if you don't know what to do with them after the fact, it only does you so much good. And that's why when we sold FreeUp, people started asking if we could teach them our system, our process. And that's really when the idea of OutsourceSchool came about.
Yeah, I was going to say, after you sold the business, what was your initial thoughts of what you were going to do next, and how were you going to, stay busy?
So the first conversation was with my business partner, Connor, and I, and it was, are we sick of each other? Do we still want to work together? And fortunately, he still wanted to work with me, and vice versa. And then from there, it was, what do you want to do? Do we want to get into real estate? Do we want to take a year off and travel? This was before COVID. Do we want to get into a different industry? Do we want to stay in the same industry? And we started doing research. We started reading books and listening to podcasts and just seeing what would we be interested in. And as we were doing that, people started reaching out about teaching them. And we didn't want to do one-on-one consulting. We didn't want to do coaching. We didn't want to do anything that was relying on our time. So we created this course called Cracking the VA Code. And I say course, but we're actually trying to stay away from the word course because it's really systems and processes that you can plug into your business. So exactly how we interview, exactly how we onboard, exactly how we manage, and the exact meetings topics we cover, the exact interview questions we ask. So we created this, and we didn't know if people would like it or hate it. I mean, just because we sell a company doesn't mean every idea we come up with going forward is going to be a good one. So we took it to market. We actually launched the week of COVID, which was terrible timing. And people fortunately really liked it. And we had a lot of people sign up. And the people that did, once they learned the fundamentals, they wanted more. They wanted to know how we got on podcasts, how we do lead generation, how we do bookkeeping. So we started releasing all these different formulas and playbooks. We call formula stuff that's a lot of videos. We call playbook stuff that's more PDF and step-by-step. And we, instead of just selling a million different things, which didn't sound like that much fun, we turned into a membership called OutsourceSchool Insider, where our insider, if you're an insider, you get access to all of our stuff and you get first access to all of our new stuff. And we're coming out with new stuff all the time. And then what happened was our developer, the same guy that built FreeUp, he was part of the buyout. He said, hey, I've been working on this new SOP building software. And we checked it out. We started playing with it. We started improving it. We called it Simply SOP. And it's a really cool way to make very dynamic video and text SOPs, share them with your team back and forth, share them with other people. It connects to all your other tools, your Asanas, your Trellos. And so we included that in the membership as well, although you can get that separately on our site. So it's one of those things that kind of slowly is continuing to develop over time based on feedback and ideas and figuring out what people want and how it can benefit them.
Yeah, that's a huge need, and it's one you don't really think about when you're in virtual space. Is like you almost need like a virtual HR department that just knows how to like navigate and provide you like best practices, how you hire, how you navigate the system. What has been? No, I'm going to take that back. I'm curious. So since COVID has happened, a lot of people are working at home. Probably a lot of people are working on different things that they ever had in the past. They're getting used to virtual conferences. What's the future of virtual assistants look like? Are we moving into a place where you're just constantly going to be picking up gig work, or, in traditional businesses, employees working under brick and mortar, roofs continues, or what do you see kind of happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think before COVID, we were going in that direction. I mean, look at all the gig economy businesses, the Ubers, the DoorDash delivery. I mean, people want flexibility on both sides. It's good for the business owner and it's good for the VA, the freelancer, the agencies. People are able to start online businesses. They're able to be self-employed. They're able to have multiple revenue streams. And I think COVID just kind of sped all this up because a lot of people that thought their 9-to-5 jobs were secure now realize it's not as secure as they thought it was. And so they're kind of seeing the benefit of having multiple clients. And a lot of people on the client side who thought they needed offices and their business would collapse if they didn't have office space and overhead are now realizing they can run their business remote, and it actually makes them more flexible and it has a lot of benefits. So I think it's just going more and more in that direction.
I would agree. I think that there's a lot of benefits on both sides of the equation for the employer and the employee, because right now wherever you live, if you work somewhere and you live somewhere, you're trading dollars for time, right? So I live in California. California is known for its long commutes. So if you want to attract the best talent, usually your office has a high dollar zip code. And if you want to work for the best places, that's where you got to go to work. And depending on where you're at in your career, most people can't afford to live in that zip code. So this is where I would say you're trading dollars for time. You go and you say, how far will I be willing to drive to get to work and afford a place that I can feel comfortable in living, paying the right price for the right size, for the right location, the right schools, and all those other things. And so you go and you look at it and you go, now that everybody's working virtually, is that thing really, really necessary? Now, if I want to trade dollars for time, my time is instantaneous. I can work where I don't have to commute. So I might have chosen to live an hour and a half from my job because that's about as far away as I could go and like my commute and live in the house I wanted to live in. Well, now I could live 600 miles, 6 hours, 60 hours from my work, but I can get there instantaneously. I don't have to choose to live there. And vice versa. Like if you're in downtown San Francisco, because that's where all the engineers are, that's where all the top talent lives and wants to work at, you say, well, I don't have to have that high dollar rent. I can move my office space into like Reno, Nevada. And now all these people that live in San Francisco, they could still choose to live in San Francisco because that's where they love to work and whatever, and they can commute virtually. So I think on both ends, there's an opportunity for people to find a better value, better flexibility between where the office is and where people are working from, for sure.
Yeah, completely agree.
So 300 podcasts, that's a lot. How long did it take you to get onto 300 podcasts?
So first of all, I always tell entrepreneurs, if you're not going on one podcast a week, you're really missing out. And we have a formula called the podcast outreach formula, which shows the exact process my VA does to get you on podcasts. But the reason is that it's great for networking. It's great for a snowballing effect that leads to better podcasts, better opportunities, speaking engagements. It's good for SEO and backlinks. It's good for just getting in front of thousands of people at once and brand awareness. And at first, I went a little crazy. I remember a week last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, where I went on 5 podcasts a day for 5 days in a row. And that was crazy. And after that, I vowed I'd never do it again. And this year, and especially since I sold FreeUp, we made a rule, and me and my VA have a rule, no more than 1 podcast a day, Monday through Friday. So every day I do a podcast, usually between 11 and 2. Sometimes there's exceptions. But just that 1 podcast every single day. And some of them are short, 10 minutes. Some of them are long, an hour. But doing that consistently really helps grow your brand. It's a big part of your organic marketing blueprint. And anything you do in ads or sponsorships or anything else, it's just going to complement it. So I'm a big proponent of going on podcasts. There's so many niche podcasts these days, and I strongly recommend doing it for anyone who's not. And I mean, it's a great way to get your business off the ground and to scale your business as well.
It's funny you say that, because there was I was kind of a bit miffed at this, but there's this gentleman, and he recently got a significant amount of investment in his startup business. And I've been interviewing startups, I've been interviewing business owners, and I was like, hey, and some other people that I know that know him say, hey, you should go on his podcast and just get your word out. And he was like, oh, well, what's the reach? I don't know. I'm getting a lot of requests. I'm probably not going to do it. It's like, one, like, you never know who is listening. 2, like you said, you're going to get a ton of backlinks and stuff like this that builds up. Like, everything is everything. This is like when you used to tell you, like, oh, you got to go guest blog on somebody else's post. But like, guest blogging was hard because you actually had to write something. You had to be good at writing. And if you wanted to get on good blogs, like, you had to write really, really well and really compelling stuff. And that was challenging. And like, a podcast is just, you go on, you have a conversation with somebody, you're getting to know what they're up to about. I was just kind of like, I think you're missing the opportunity there of what the podcast allows you to do. But hosting podcasts is another thing that's really cool, is that you get to connect with people you might not have had a chance to meet under other circumstances. You're constantly engaging and networking, and then that leads to other conversations down the road. So I think without it, like, you're missing a huge piece of the pie.
Yeah, I agree. And we have this organic marketing blueprint that really allowed us to scale FreeUp from a $5,000 investment to 8 figures in 4 years without spending any money on ads. And with OutsourceSchool, we implemented the same thing. That's how we're growing now. We are going to spend money on ads, but it's a great blueprint that we're teaching our members, and that you can apply it to any business. And that's podcasts, partnerships, influencers, content, affiliates, and I'm blanking on one more. Networking. Combination of those things, that's how you get businesses off the ground if you don't have a huge ad budget. And backlinks you can throw in there too.
Yeah, that's for sure huge. So what are, like, if somebody's looking to get started on OutsourceSchool, or they're looking to start hiring VAs, is this something you would recommend? Go out and hire somebody to do everything all at once? Or like, where do you pick where you start looking for help, and how do you scale from that spot?
So my overall advice to entrepreneurs is figure out how to get 5 to 10 hours a week back. That should be your goal. Figure out the easiest task, the most repetitive task that you're doing every single week, and figure that out, because that extra 5 hours will allow you time to spend with your family and relax, or time to go after sales expansion marketing and grow your business. You'll learn a lot, and it'll get addicting, and you'll want to outsource and delegate more and more. Now, me personally, I've had 3 businesses. My first 2 hires in every business is bookkeeper, because I'm not good at bookkeeping. If I do the bookkeeping, it's going to be wrong. It's going to have to get redone. And I want to have my books right from the beginning, not just so that I don't have to redo it, but also because I want to make decisions based on those monthly reports. So bookkeeper is huge. And then, and if I'm doing bookkeeping, I'm not growing my business. It doesn't actually like get me clients or anything. Then second is someone to get me out of my inbox, because if you're an entrepreneur, your inbox is a time sucker. So I'll hire someone for 5-10 hours a week, clear my inbox before I wake up, leave any important emails for me. I get a head start to every day. I tend to be the most productive between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. So if I have to spend 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. in my inbox responding to emails, usually that day is not going to be as good as it potentially could be. So those are the first 2 hires that I look for.
I'm curious about that, because when you say I'm going to outsource my emails, and let's just say, like, I use Microsoft Outlook, so stuff gets dumped into automatically 2 folders. One is focused, one is other, and then you have your spam folders and other. So I usually go, if it landed in other, it's automatically getting deleted. I'm not going to read that. Then what's left is the focused, and so I've eliminated a lot. But I'm personally torn between how much you let somebody else respond to emails for you, either as you or on behalf of you, or how much of that, are you missing things that they might have made a decision is not worth your time, but it is, or they respond back to it in a way that's like, let's just say an example, like you have a like a 2 or 3 message conversation back and forth, and it's kind of like all of a sudden it's going somewhere, and then you go, oh shoot, I'm not even caught up to speed on what this conversation is. Like, what's been your experience with dealing with what's important for you to read and respond to versus, and I'm not talking about like the junk emails, but I'm talking about that kind of borderline, maybe it's like a junk email almost, but you're kind of curious enough about it that you might have responded and seeked additional information and a conversation around.
Yeah. So first of all, my rule of thumb is never have your VA pretend to be you. And so that's just something that I personally believe in. Other people can disagree with. But if my VA is working out of my inbox, which they do, they'll say, hi, my name is Anna, Nathan's assistant, covering for Nate. Nate's asleep, Nate's in a meeting, whatever it is. And she'll respond. And people always have to feel like they're one email away from you. Like if someone responds and says, I want to talk to Nate, she's not, at least at this point, maybe down the line this changes, but she's not like, no, you cannot talk to Nate. You have to talk to me. It's always like, hey, I'm here to assist. I'm here to get you a faster response. I'm here to answer questions that I know how to answer. But you're always one email away from Nate. That's a kind of mentality I like to do. And I feel like that builds a really good relationship with your customers and clients, because they know that they don't need you for every little thing. And second, I just created a really good playbook called the Inbox Management Playbook that we're really excited about. It'll be for sale on OutsourceSchool too soon, and our members will get access. But it breaks down the step-by-steps to get your VAs in a really good place so they can make those decisions at a high level. And so you're checking those decisions for a while until they get it. And they're creating drafts and they're escalating the right things to you. And at first, they're just going to handle the easy emails. And then it's going to get better and more difficult. And you're working the way. You're not just saying, here's my inbox, go to work. There's a methodical approach that values your time at a very high level to get them the fundamentals, create a guide on the types of emails you get and how to respond to these emails, how to make the decisions, what to escalate to you, and you get better and better over time. I mean, I have VAs that free up, and even my VA now, they're rock stars. They do a better job sometimes than me in my emails because that's what they're dedicated to.
It's funny you say that. And as you were just talking about it, I was sitting there thinking, I go, you've chosen probably the 2 most personal areas that you'd bring somebody in first, and that you'd give people the keys to the castle on your books and finances and your personal messages. And I'm just like how did you what's your advice to you're bringing somebody on that you've never met before and building trust around 2, I guess, critical things that could easily destroy your reputation or your business if they're mismanaged versus, something that's more simple as like, hey, I'm just somebody out here doing back end tasks and posting, graphic designs into a folder for you to upload later.
Right. And I mean, I always kind of chuckle when someone's like, oh, it's going to like destroy my business. Like, what's the real worst case scenario? Like a bookkeeper goes in there, they have view only access to a lot of stuff. And I actually give my VAs bank account access and PayPal access, but there's not like that much money in the business overall. Like, what's the worst case? They're going to try to transfer like $50,000 or something to the Philippines, even if it's 200,000, like stuff like that's going to get flagged. They're going to get caught. There's very few ways. Like even if they steal my credit card information, I'm going to cancel my card. I'm going to get the money back. I'm going to file a chargeback, and chances are it's not going to impact me in that way. And the average VA, and I hire a lot from the Philippines, cares so much more about providing for their family and having a steady job, a steady client. If I'm hiring from FreeUp, they spend hours and hours and hours going through FreeUp's vetting process to get on the platform, to get clients. They don't want to get kicked off the FreeUp marketplace. How's that going to benefit them for something that probably won't even work? And for the inbox, I mean, again, like if you're building real relationships with your clients and your VA gets mad at you or something and like fires off an email to them, you hop on the phone, you apologize. I think people have been in situations probably themselves where they've made a bad hire, and you make it right. And honestly, I've been hiring VAs for 10 years now, and nothing close to that has ever happened. And I know there's horror stories out there, but usually those horror stories come down to the person not treating the VA well, not building a relationship with them, not giving them more and more access over time, and not doing the smart things like that. And I think a lot of people get caught up in like the NDAs and stuff, but are you really going to chase someone across the Philippines over a piece of paper? Probably not. The real way to protect your business is to build a relationship with the people that you're working with, create a win-win environment where they're winning by being your VA, you're winning by having a really good VA. And I've fired people and they didn't want to hurt me, and people have quit on me and I didn't want to hurt them, and stuff like that happens because you build a relationship and you have that element of trust. But if you are always in the mentality that this is my inbox, no one else can get in, this is my numbers, no one else can touch it, like you can't scale a business that way. At some point you have to open up and trust other people.
Mm-hmm. And I think, it's true no matter where you hire anybody from. Like I know people that have had pretty successful businesses that a family member was running the books, and the family member embezzled a bunch of money and caused the business to fail. I mean,
even if you hire someone to sit right next to you, there's still a chance they do something stupid and jeopardize your business.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm sure you get asked this a lot, and it's probably a controversial subject around hiring VAs, but the idea of you're outsourcing employees from another country at a lower rate than what somebody might make in the market you work in. What's been your experience around, I guess, I get pay amounts or equal pay versus where they live, and are sending jobs across the country, out of the country, or hiring, sweatshop labor? Like what are the things that you've been accused of, and what is your response to, answer that?
Yeah. So first of all, I don't believe in sweatshop labor. I don't think any VA that's ever worked with me or for FreeUp or anything like that is anything close to that. They're working from home in an environment that they choose to work in. But I like to divide hiring into 3 levels: followers, doers, and experts. Followers are there to follow your exact system, your exact process. Doers are specialists, graphic designers, writers, and experts bring their own system, their own process, strategy to the table. For the doers and the experts, hire US or non-US. There's plenty of good doers and experts out there. Depending, what really matters is their skill set. Are they a really good graphic designer? Are they really good at Facebook ads? If they're really good at Facebook ads and they're in India, they're going to charge a lot more than the typical person makes in India. But at the same time, I don't recommend hiring US followers because you can get the same amount of work done at a very high level outside of the US. And with that said, I firmly believe that we are a world as a whole. And if you are complaining about stuff that's going on in the US, for example, let's say with COVID, imagine what it's like being in a third world country. A lot of us can't imagine that. So you're providing opportunities to people who have long commutes, who don't have great jobs around them, who have large families and have benefits from working from home. And one of the cool things for working at FreeUp was people showing me their houses, their cars, stuff they were able to buy for that money that they wouldn't have had the opportunity to do, things that provide for their family. So yes, you could say, hey, making $5 an hour, but the minimum wage in the Philippines is $12 a day. So they're making so much more with so much more flexibility, with being able to be around their family, spend time with their kids, than they ever would at a job there. And if you want to go hire US, go hire US. If you want to hire just non-US, go hire non-US. I've seen people do hybrids where they hire both. I kind of have that mentality that you should hire US people with that high level skill set for the doers and the experts, and hire non-US for those follower roles. And there are plenty of companies that I've seen with FreeUp who, they're a startup, they don't have a big budget, they hired VAs from the Philippines, 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, $5 an hour. They built up their business and then hired US employees. And they would have never gotten to the point to hire US employees without hiring those VAs first. So it's not as black and white as people make, where it's one or the other. A lot of it can come together to really help both sides.
Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about that in a lot with the idea around COVID. So VAs tend to be like these entrepreneurship businesses, or coding or stuff like this, but I think you could really work for your traditional brick and mortar mom and pop stuff, and you start outsourcing some of the stuff you pay a lot of money to get done here. But if you took it as a whole, and you have businesses that feed into an industry, say home building, and you can reduce some of the expenses that go into the overhead of managing it, bring those costs down, you're going to bring the price points down of housing, which makes it more affordable for more people. But like you said, you're also improving the standard of living for people outside, because it's relative. Like you said, like $12 an hour here isn't what it is in the Philippines. But and the other thing is true, because we were talking about, you live in Florida and I live in California. Like there's also a difference of what the price of living is, and what $100,000 a year salary does in California. It's probably barely getting by. You're in the middle of Nebraska, like that's good money. Like that's really good money, So it's just all relative to what everything is in that area that you live in. So
right
stuff. So I always like to ask my guest, what does it mean to you to be all in on an idea or an outcome?
I mean, I'm like the definition of all in. Like a lot of entrepreneurs have all these businesses going on the side. I for whatever reason, I tend to focus on one business at a time. And I always grew up with the mentality of work hard, play hard, that my mom's been saying that to me since I was little. So when I'm playing sports, I'm going all out. When I'm with my friends, I'm having a blast there. When I'm working, I'm doing everything to grow it. And to me, it's fun. And it's just a way to live life. And I tend to be a fast talking, high energy, intense person anyway. So it's kind of my natural personality.
I don't know. I'd never noticed that about you here while we've been chatting. You're just like barely getting a word out. No, I'm just kidding. You've been a ton of energy. It's definitely noticeable. So we talked about OutsourceSchool. Who is the ideal person that you're looking to connect with that should go check out OutsourceSchool? Who is that person?
Yeah, and I want to start by saying we have a lot of random businesses in OutsourceSchool, because hiring VAs applies to almost all businesses now. So if you don't fit into my ideal, you should still check it out. But I would say our ideal person is in that six-figure range, the entrepreneur that's either struggled to hire VAs before or has never hired a VA before. We even get some people who have hired a lot of VAs and had success, but still want to up their VA game. But it tends to be that online business somewhere in that six-figure, maybe seven-figure range, or even with a lower budget as well.
Okay, cool. And where can they go to find you?
Yeah, go to OutsourceSchool.com. You can actually grab a free trial of becoming an OutsourceSchool insider. You can set up a call with us. You can check out a lot of the cool stuff we have going on, and feel free to connect with me on social media, Nathan Hirsch on Facebook or LinkedIn, or Real Nate Hirsch on Instagram or Twitter.
Awesome stuff. So I encourage you to go out there, connect with Nathan. Go check out the OutsourceSchool, because I think if you've never used a VA before, or you've been maybe curious about it or hesitant about it, I think you're going to find a lot of answers as to why a VA can help you out. And everybody I talk to that's been like, hey, I'm thinking about doing it, I don't know. And then they go and they hire one, they're like, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. Like, I've just given up so much of this work that takes energy off me. So if you're like wanted to be like creative, not just like, oh, I draw pictures or make, music, but like just creative in the business that you're in, the problems that you solve. Get rid of the stuff that just drains your energy and sucks it out from you, and put that to somebody else that knows what they're doing, and start there. So I encourage you to go check out Nathan, say hi, and let him know where you heard about him from. So appreciate you coming on the show, Nathan.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram